The truth is that innovative companies, well, they just keep innovating. Think about Apple. From the very first computer to the iPod to the iPhone to the iPad, innovation is just in their DNA. And the sponsor of this week's episode of Control Talk Now is known for innovation and quality. In fact, some people in our industry think of them as the Apple of our industry. This week's sponsor is Functional Devices. Hey, what's up, Control Pro? If you're like me, you've used the Functional Devices Relay in a Box as your go-to relay forever. My guess is that, even Apple is impressed by its unique and functional design. No pun intended there. But did you know that the RIB Relay is not the only innovative product Functional Devices makes in its design? Have you seen their current relays and sensors? And they're so cool. Well, they're designed with the Control Pro in mind. These switches, they're small, so they save space. They include a patented ratcheted wire clamp and slide core opening, making wiring easier and safer and installation time faster, because after all, time is money. Like I said, innovative companies, they just keep innovating. And Functional Devices, they just can't help it. But hey, don't just take my word for it. Ask your local controls distributor to quote you on some for your next job. Or better still, I'll get the first 10 people who email me at hvaccontrolpro@gmail.com a free current sensor. And heck, I'll even throw in a hat. But if you have already used a Functional Devices current sensor, write a review that my friends at Functional Devices can use, and we'll send you a gift card from Amazon. How much you ask? Well, that depends on the review. Remember, send it to me at hvaccontrolpro@gmail.com. Welcome to episode 415 of Control Talk Now, where we talk about all things smart building controls and HVAC controls, including sales and marketing. My name is Eric Stromquist, and we got a really good show for you this week. But I got to tell you, man, my bags are packed and I'm ready to go to Haystack Connect up in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm looking forward to catching up with the likes of Brian Frank, Mark Peacock, Scott Mitch, and all the other innovative people that are making it easy to connect our devices and share data in smart building with the Haystack Connect protocol. But if you can't make it, hey man, no problem. I've got you covered. I'll share what I see and hear right here on Control Trends, giving you the control news you can use. But hey, if you are at Haystack, please come and say hello. Okay, so let's get into it with this week's guest. I'm so excited. I've got Greg Fitzpatrick from Cochrane Supply and Engineering on today. And man, Greg, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk to us.
No, you're very welcome, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Well, yeah, last time I saw you, we were trying to do an interview at Controls Con, man, and it was noisy, it was loud. It put it this way, it's great party audio to put in the background, but we couldn't hear each other, so it didn't look like that video was going to turn out. But congratulations on Controls Con. You guys just knocked it out of the park.
Thank you very much. We're excited about it. I think Scott's so excited about it. We may be doing something in another market here soon. I won't divulge anything because I don't know all the details, but yeah, I think we're taking Controls Con on the road, so stay tuned.
Oh man, that sounds like, yeah, I wouldn't expect anything less from Scott and you guys to come up with something that is a surprise and innovative. You guys are kind of known for that, so that's cool. So, but Greg, listen, tell our audience real quick your title and kind of what your charter in life at Cochrane Supply, because this is a really unique thing that you're doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. My title is Business Development Leader for IoT and Integration. And the funny thing is I wear several hats, right? Because we're not I don't have a business development partner or a department of a bunch of soldiers out there. So we try to cast as wide a net as we possibly can with the tools that we have, right? So we're trying to cover consulting engineers, end users, and systems integrators alike. And one of the things that we've got going on here that I'm pretty excited about is our new smart building design website. The URL is smartbuildingdesign.com. I kind of did a teaser at ControlsCon during my pre-con session to just kind of scroll through it, but we're going to do an official launch here within the next month, and we're really, really excited about it. The site is active now, but we're doing an official marketing pitch here coming up within the next month.
Well, that's awesome. So tell me about the purpose of the site. Why are you guys building another site?
Well, it's really to make sure that we can touch as many consulting engineers and systems integrators as possible, because our industry is changing, right, with the emergence of smart building technology, all this IP technology, and it's taken a sharp left turn, right? Every 5-10 years or so, our industry takes a turn, and this is one of those times where I think that Cochrane Supply and myself, we need to be catalysts as far as getting the information out there, especially to the design community, because consulting engineers are way behind when it comes to designing controls and integration. And now we've got smart building technology, IP technology, OT networks. And what I like to do is try to simplify all of that technology and show the industry that, hey, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be able to get this stuff in a set of plans and specifications. I've got a pretty cool process, I think, because my background is in consulting engineering. I've got a pretty cool process that kind of takes you step by step on how to get this technology into a set of plans and specifications. And that's what the site is all about. There's a ton of best practices. There's some newsworthy stuff there, but there's also topology drawings, guide specifications, we've got a cybersecurity page, and a lot of other things there that I think a consulting engineer would love to see. I looked at the site from a design perspective as, what would I want to see as a young designer, or even a seasoned designer in our industry when it comes to controls? What would I like to see as far as drawings, specifications, and how-to when it comes to trying to help these engineers? And I think we've got a really, really cool site out there.
Oh no, I have no doubt about it. And the fact you're coming from the consulting engineering side of it is fantastic, because consulting engineers, I think, rightfully so, for the most part, are risk adverse, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
basically, people are paying you a lot of money to make sure that things don't get screwed up. Well, let's speak a bit about some of the differences now that we're going to IP controls and more IoT type stuff versus how it was done 4 or 5 years ago, even, right?
Yeah, for the most part, engineers were used to showing a gateway device and, typically a JACE, right? And bringing all the controls back to a JACE and landing on the owner's IT network and their built environment in one spot, right? Or if there's 2 JACEs, depending on how large the project is, a couple different places. And traditionally, you would have the fire protection actually connecting to that network also. But now with IP devices, think about this. The devices have their own network, right? So when you're talking about MSTP, you're talking about a 485 network, right? So now when you're talking about IP, you're talking about a Cat6 cabling network where you can only daisy chain so many devices, right? And now you've got to ask for multiple IP drops and landing places for this IP technology. And a lot of real estate owners aren't, capable of handling that type of, let's just say, that many IP devices when it comes to their built environment. And also, when you look at most organizations, I was the executive director for a large school district at one point, and our IT department would charge us for every IP drop that they quote unquote. And
Yeah.
so what we're trying to do is teach the engineers that, hey, there's IP network solutions out there that are built for the facilities world. In other words, you don't have to know CLI language. You don't have to be an IT professional to manage these networks. And one of the things that we do on our website, in addition to, my quote unquote road show, when I go on the road and do all these presentations, is here are the basic design principles for standing up your own IP network, which actually turns into an OT network because it can support all of the other technology. So your lighting controls, elevators, escalators, energy, security, whatever, right? Whatever you want to integrate into the system, these networks can accommodate that technology. And now, if the owner would like it connected to their built environment, you're still only connected in one place. Or it can be a standalone network, right? With its own remote access capabilities, its own cybersecurity built in. So that's a mouthful for a consulting engineering firm who's used to laying out the ductwork, laying out the air systems, laying out the chill water plants, hot water plants, and all that good stuff. And controls is one of those things that moves so fast that they've kind of tossed it to the side. And when I say they, the majority of the firms out there, there's some large firms who have figured it out, right?
Yeah.
And they've got a lot of large enterprise customers. They've got a controls department. They have a technology department. But what about the firms that are small to medium size, and even some larger firms who aren't up to speed on this technology? What we want to do is allow them to have the information so that when they walk and sit in a meeting and their client asks them, hey, we want a smart building. What do you know about smart building technology, right?
Right.
If they're looking to the consultant as their trusted advisor, we want to give them not only the tools, but point them in a direction that says, hey, we've got a partner that can help us get through this. We've got a partner that can help us through the design process, through the specification process, show them what their submittal drawing should look like, and let them know that, hey, this isn't rocket science. We can walk you through it, and you can get a set of strong construction or contract documents out of your office and understand all those submittals when they come back in your office.
Yeah, Greg, and I think it's almost gone from, well, this would be nice if we could do this from a consulting engineering point of view to, hey, if you don't provide this, the end users are starting to ask for this. You better have this capability, right? Or you're going to be left behind. You're not going to be seen as like a progressive consulting engineer, for lack of a better term.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that I tell engineers when I walk into their firm is, hey, you don't want to be caught with your pants down in a meeting, right? You don't want to leave a meeting knowing that you didn't have any of those answers.
Yes.
And some of these end users, they come to RealCom, they come to a lot of these conferences, and they learn just enough to be dangerous and know that they want this technology in their facilities.
Right.
But they're still looking to their consulting engineer as their trusted advisor. And like you said, if they're not up to speed as to what the technology looks like and how to get in a set of documents and how to see it all the way through commissioning and their punch list, then, they'll probably miss out on several jobs.
Yeah.
That's where our industry is moving.
Yeah, Greg, when I first got involved in the industry, we did a lot of equipment sales that was specified by consulting engineers. And, the thing about the consulting engineer, if you or somebody like you or whatever, they relied a lot on their vendors to make sure they were in the know, but also to give them the straight skinny, right? Because it's kind of like a doctor that has got to deal with all these different things. They rely on the people from the drug companies to say, hey, you can treat this way or whatever. So I think it's really cool what you're doing. In other words, almost giving them a turnkey package. You don't have to be afraid of embracing this because from one consulting engineer to another consulting engineer, here's everything you need to get started, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting you said that because I started in our industry in the early 90s and I worked for a small firm, and I'll never forget this. It was a small firm. My boss left late in the day one day, and he set a project on my desk. Now, mind you, I had been in the business maybe 2 years and barely understood any of this stuff. And he said, hey, I need you to size a boiler for me.
You should have called me, Greg. I could have helped you with that. That's what I was selling to consulting engineers, boilers, but go ahead.
And what he said was, hey, I want you to size this boiler for this project. He said, I want you to call this guy, John Taylor from Cleveland Brooks or wherever. I don't remember. You may remember John. He used to be in business, worked on her hydraulic side.
Right.
But he said, give the guy a call and he'll kind of walk you through it. So I called the guy. He said he'd come by after work was over. He bought a couple beers by, and he told me to go and get a 3-ring binder. I want you to punch 3 holes in a few sheets of paper, and I want you to get a divider and label it how to size a boiler. And we're going to walk through it. And I have 4 or 5 binders that are about this thick of notes on how to size different things from chill water makeup to duct anything you can think of. And it goes back to me learning immediately that, hey, your vendors are a source of knowledge because they are the experts when it comes to the technology or the equipment. And one of the things that I said to Scott Cochrane when I first started working there is, we would complain about some of the drawings that would come in on planning spec work, right? We're bidding to our systems integrators. And we would look at the specs and, I'd hear, words thrown around the office like, what the hell is this engineer doing? And I asked Scott, I said, well, Scott, do we call on engineers? Now, this is probably my first or second week working there. And I said, do we
Wow.
call on engineers? And he said, well, traditionally, we never called on engineers.
Yeah.
And my thought was, coming from, my past, I knew Cochrane Supply as the quote unquote tritium guys, right?
Yeah.
And, we're the largest tritium supplier in the nation. And I said, well, if we're the gatekeepers of the technology, we've got an IT department. We've got product specialists. We know everything about this product from the licensing to the technology itself. We're training all the integrators. Why aren't we getting this information out to the engineers? And Scott and I decided that one of my roles and my major role would be to call on consulting engineers. Well, some of the other large controls companies out there, they've got a ton of foot soldiers out there selling their proprietary stuff.
Yeah. Train. Train.
But also, I'm promoting open systems. And a lot of consultants didn't really know what an open system was because they thought that if Niagara or Tritium was in a specification and BACnet was there, then you've got an open system.
Yeah.
And we know an open system is open technology, open protocol, but most importantly, open distribution.
Yeah.
Where there's more than one person in that industry or more than one company in that marketplace that can purchase, install, commission, and maintain that hardware that's installed in your building. So that was one of the first hurdles that I had to overcome when it came to calling on consulting engineers, is getting them to understand what an open system is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Greg, you remember back in the day, I mean, maybe it was a little bit before your time, but back in the early days when, Carter was president, that's when, building automation controls really sort of came into vogue. And there were only like 3 or 4 companies that could do it because, they all had a proprietary protocol, right? Because it was confusing stuff, and so the game back then was you just went on bid day. You give away the system because you've got them for life, because the cost to change after that was way too expensive, right?
Oh yeah, and that's still a strategy out there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
And then then you got the open, but then again, I think this is why it's so great you're calling on the consulting engineers. I mean, the savvy ones like Donnie Walker and the people at Newcomb and Boyd. I mean, way ahead of that curve.
We push them over there because they've got it figured out, right?
They got it figured out for sure. But again, if you're one of these proprietary vendors, then you want to redefine what open means. Open means BACnet. We've got BACnet, but if you can't get the tool, right? If you can't get the tool to program it, you still got to call the branch or whatever to get it hooked up. But listen, so how do engineers? You mentioned you got a road show, so let's sort of tie this up in a knot for people. Consulting engineers that are out there listening say, yeah, I want to know more about Greg's road show. We reach out to you, and what's the best way for them to connect there?
The best way is to reach out to me via email and try to schedule a lunch and learn presentation.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, try to schedule a lunch and learn presentation. Our website, we have a lunch and learn tab that shows some of the lunch and learn topics that we have, in addition to creating something custom, for the company if they'd like.
Yeah, no, cool. Well, I've seen your presentation. It's top notch. And again, what I keep coming back to is created by a consulting engineer for consulting engineers, because you really understand what they need and you've walked in their shoes, so you can put the package together for them. So we'll definitely have you check that out. But now you're going to be doing something else here pretty special in a couple of weeks. You're going to be out at Realcomm IBCon. Tell me about what you're going to be doing out there.
Well, actually, this is my first trip to IBCon.
Okay.
First trip, traditionally, the people who are more involved with the products at Cochrane would go to IBCon. I would go to HR and go to the Niagara Summit, but some of the others would go to IBCon. So this is my first time being involved in IBCon, and it's through my involvement with the Real Estate Cyber Consortium as their executive director. I was just appointed their executive director in January. It's been like drinking out of a fire hose, but it's been really, really good. I'm learning a lot, and we're starting to get that message as far as cyber what I like to call cyber harmony out to the industry, right? And I'm going to talk about that more at IBCon, but we've got our cyber forum coming up on the first day. It's like a pre-con kind of event where,
So you'll be speaking there?
yes, I'll be
Oh,
speaking.
nice,
Yeah,
nice,
yeah, I'll be
nice.
speaking there with our executive board for REC, which is the Real Estate Cyber Consortium. I'm also moderating an IAQ or IEQ session the next day, and then I have my own workshop for OT networks. So it's an OT network design and configuration workshop that's going to last about an hour, and it goes back to what I talked about before. You know, the alternative to connecting to the owner's built environment with all this IP technology and all this smart building technology is just for systems integrators. Well, first, designers to be capable of designing these OT networks, and systems integrators being familiar with the products and solutions out there that can be easily designed, installed, commissioned, and maintained, right? So,
Nice.
so I'm going to walk the group through the basics, the hardware, the software involved, and go through an example project. So it's
Man, that's going to be great. That's great. Well, listen, if you can get Joe or somebody to send me the links to those or the times and locations, I'll make sure to put them in the show notes so that people are going to go out there can definitely check you out there. So,
absolutely.
oh man, this is cool stuff. Well, listen, kind of as we wind it down here a little bit, and I could talk to you for hours and days and weeks, man. It's a lot of fun hearing your expertise and drawing on that. But one of the big things we hear with we talk about cybersecurity, and I've heard there's kind of rumblings, true or false. Well, if you go with IP controls, you're going to have more cybersecurity issues.
Well, let's say this. There needs to be a certain amount of cyber awareness throughout our entire industry, right? And I don't want to give away too much, but I'll give a teaser.
Okay.
With the whole concept of cyber harmony, meaning the IT world and the commercial real estate world, they need to get their ducks in a row internally, meaning IT needs to talk to facilities or their construction division. They need to come up with some owner's project requirements that in turn get passed along to the consulting engineer to make sure it lands in the right sections, right? And the verbiage is correct. So whether it's division 25, 27, 26, right? That language for cyber needs to be in there, in addition to going all the way down to creating a cyber commissioning process, right? That includes penetration testing, or better known as pen testing, right? So
Very
we're
cool.
trying to simplify that process and have a meeting of the minds. We've got best practice groups within REC, and we're working on those initiatives right now. And that cyber harmony would eventually end up being the commercial real estate industry getting their best practices and their project requirements to their supply chain. Does that make sense?
Very cool. Oh, makes a lot of sense. It sounds like, Greg, because, it seems like there has always been, not always, but tension between IT and OT, right? And because of that, it seems like there's been a lot of miscommunications or non-communications, or, we got this, but we're not thinking about your part of it. And it seems to me like what you're doing, among other things, is sort of bringing everybody together with common best practices that both sides can adopt. So again, if you're a consulting engineer, ultimately it's probably going to fall on you anyway. But if you've got this checklist that you're talking about, they know they can go into a project with confidence, knowing that, okay, if we get all these checked off, then we know we're going to have cyber harmony and our system should be cyber secure. Is that?
Absolutely, Eric. You hit the nail on the head. And, I've worked in this industry in several disciplines. I've ran my own commissioning firm. I've worked for a couple manufacturers. I started off as a consulting engineer. I've worked as a director of facilities. So I've seen all sides, right? I'm one of those Swiss Army knives,
Yeah.
jack of all trades, master of none. But in my role at Cochrane and with REC, I consider myself more of a catalyst, right? Because when I look out over the industry, I'm not a cyber expert but there's cyber experts out there. But I do understand our industry and understand how all these dots should be connected.
Yeah.
So I'm taking it upon myself and putting that on my shoulders to bring all these smart people who have all this information into one place, and that one place, is a real estate cyber consortium. Bring everyone, all these incredible thought leaders into one place, get everyone in a room. Let's create these best practices. Let's get these owners project requirements out there. Let's make sure that division 25 and 27 are tight, and make sure that there's a process that everyone in our industry buys into, so that we can understand what cyber awareness really looks like, right? Because there are some people out there who know way more about this than I do, but no one's bringing and herding all the cattle into one room and getting all these smart people to devote their information so we can get it on one sheet of paper. Right?
No, dude, man, in my head, I'm hearing that song. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take. You know that song. So you've seen it all. So you don't have to be an expert in all the fields, but you do have to sort of know what an expert looks like, and you sort of do need to know what best practices are. And it sounds like that's what you're doing, is bringing it all together. So, man, I applaud you for that, Greg. The industry is better for what you and Cochrane Supply are up to. And, man, I look forward to seeing you. I'm going to be out there in Las Vegas, so look forward to checking your sessions out. All right, man. Well, there you go. That's my guest this week, Greg Fitzpatrick from Cochrane Supply and Engineering. He will be in Las Vegas, and when he is not cleaning up on the poker table, I think he'll be teaching some really good stuff out there. So, Greg, I'll see you out there, man, and thanks so much for taking time to talk with us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Eric. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing everyone out at Realcom. I'm excited.
It's going to be good stuff, man. We'll see you out there, brother. Thanks a lot. Okay, that's it. Another week on Control Talk Now. A special thanks to this week's sponsor, Functional Devices, and this week's guest, Greg Fitzpatrick from Cochrane Supply and Engineering. So remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant, and as Hunter Thompson used to say, buy the ticket, take the ride. We'll see you next week.